because
Right.
that's what we all want. We want to feel better, and we're all just trying to figure out how to do that.
Welcome to part one of this three-part series, Principles and Practices on the Homeschool Paradigm podcast. We are going to be talking about the three principles that are the core of what we believe at Homeschool Paradigm to some ideas to get you started.
All right. So the first principle we're going to talk about is choosing your thoughts. And I think Sarah's going to explain that a little bit.
Yeah, so choosing your thoughts is pretty much essential. I mean, to me, that's essential to everything that we want to do peacefully or happily. So I think everybody probably wants more peace and more happiness and joy in their homeschool. And I think a lot of the time, the people that we coach do when we do homeschool coaching and things like that in homeschool paradigm, they are looking for more peace for themselves ultimately, because
Right.
that's what we all want. We want to feel better, and we're all just trying to figure out how to do that. And so the first thing when you choose your thoughts, the reason that's important is because when you don't, they will just kind of go rampant. I would say most people have the tendency to just think pretty negatively. Like if they let themselves go, some people think more positively, right? Like it's easier to do that for some people than it is for others. But for someone like
Yeah.
me, my mind immediately goes to the worst case scenario and the most negative things if I don't pick what to think.
Yeah, I do
So,
not want to just accept whatever my brain hands me because it's
right.
usually not handing me something
It's
useful.
usually like anxiety inducing or
Mhm.
depressing, right? And so I think, in homeschool, noticing thoughts, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's noticing the thoughts you're having every day about your homeschool, you as a homeschool mom or
Your
dad,
kids.
or
About your
your
kids.
kids.
Yeah.
So, for example, if your child is doing math, I don't know why math is always the first example that comes to
Well,
mind.
everyone
It's
knows
just
why we
hard
Common
for
say
a lot of
math.
dynamic.
people. So I'm going to use an example I've probably used before on the podcast, but if you give your child some math problems to do and they only do, one of five, what is your thought about that circumstance or your child? It might be something like, oh my gosh, they never do what I tell them to do. They're going to be behind in math.
Yeah.
It can be very
Yeah.
catastrophic. And so just noticing those thoughts, and that's just one example, just noticing the thoughts that you have throughout the day when you are observing your homeschool and your children.
Yeah. And I feel like most of our thoughts we have that just pop into our head are just, they're a story, right? They aren't necessarily based in actual facts.
Right.
So,
Yeah. And that goes right into the next part, which is not judging, which I
mhm.
think we were talking beforehand, and I kind of had, I guess, sometimes even I'm not sure exactly what we mean by that. Sometimes I think,
Mhm.
oh, is that I'm not supposed to be judgmental about the thoughts that I have, like, oh, you're such an idiot for thinking that, or I'm not supposed to be judging the thoughts as right or wrong. And we were talking about that
Mm.
beforehand,
Mhm.
um, about kind of the different things that can mean.
Yeah, do you want to, so, I mean, so deciding whether your thought is right or wrong or factual. Well, we like people to notice whether the thoughts are actually true or not. I mean, I'm not sure notice. I mean, think when you notice, you're not at the point of deciding that's a fact or it's not a fact. You just notice.
I think that it doesn't matter because I think there are a lot of things that are true. I think you have a lot of thoughts about your kids and yourself that could very well be true. But I
Because you
think
know a lot
learning how
about them.
to have a thought that might be true even. Like if you think your kid is kind of lazy and they don't want to do school, like we don't really know. Like maybe that's true, maybe it's not true. Most of the time it's not true that they're just
Right.
lazy. Like we
Right.
like to believe that
We
that's not
teach
true.
that your kids are not lazy. Yeah.
Right. I'm just saying,
Occasionally you might run into a lazy kid, but
right.
Or a
I'm
lazy
just saying
moment. Yeah.
whatever
for
it
the most
is,
part, no.
Right.
I think it's important to realize that true or not true, it is just a thought that you have in your head. And so I think that
You're
that's really what I
thinking it
like
is
to
not.
talk about when we say not judging it is
Hmm.
just not judging it as right or wrong, not judging it as good or bad, not judging yourself as good or
Okay.
bad for having the thought or your
So
kids.
it's
Yeah.
both things that Rachel said. Don't
Right.
judge the thought, but also
Okay.
don't beat yourself
Yeah.
up.
Right.
Yeah,
Judge
that's a
yourself
really good
too.
explanation. It makes me think of just like, oh, I see something laying on the floor over there and I think absolutely nothing about it. Yeah, it
Right.
kind of makes me feel like that. Like if I notice it
It's there
and I
and
just
that's it.
learn to think nothing of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay. Ew, yeah, that's hard. It's something to practice. It takes some
Yeah.
time. Okay, and then the next practice. So these are the practices. Did I say this? These are the practices that go with the principle of choosing your thoughts.
Hmm.
So noticing is a practice, not judging is a practice. You really do have to practice them. And then the next part of that is reframing. So Sarah, you had a
I
good
think that's the hardest
explanation of
one.
that. You had a good
Yeah.
explanation, Sarah, about going
So,
backwards.
right.
Sarah has the best explanation for all these, by the way,
She
because
does.
she's like got the training on it
Yeah.
and she's, the coach. So
Hmm.
I'm just like, let Sarah say this whole
Let's let
thing.
Sarah explain this
Yeah.
whole
It's
thing.
just me on this episode. I was just thinking the first thing I want to say about reframing is how powerful that is. And I just want to make that one comment before I even start describing how to do that. Because I think when you realize how powerful it is to reframe a thought, you realize how powerful you are in your life, in your
Your
homeschool.
entire life and
Right,
homeschool and everything can change
Mhm.
when you learn how to do
right.
this. Yeah.
So reframing a thought is I like to go backwards, is what I was saying before. I like to ask, like if you were to look at someone else, another family who you think just has it all together, that person that maybe you're comparing yourself to as a
Oh,
homeschool mom
jealous.
or even as a family,
Yeah.
right? And you're comparing your homeschool to them. Don't really want you to be doing that either because it's just not productive at all. But if you think about them, what are they saying? What are they doing? How are they treating their kids?
Imagine what they are thinking, saying, and doing.
Yeah, because
What do
it's
Yeah.
they
easier to
believe?
think of,
Hmm.
to
Right.
make up thoughts that you think could be in someone else's head than to come up with your own thoughts. So
Hmm.
maybe if you're looking at someone who
Right.
looks like they have the ideal that you want, the ideal
Hmm.
homeschool and children and relationship, if you look at them, it's a whole lot easier to, be a judgmental person and to think,
I
well,
mean, let's
their
face
life
it.
is like
We,
this. They're
yeah,
thinking like this. They're thinking these things. They go along all day
Right.
feeling these feelings instead of trying to picture you in some mystical future
right.
that where
Yeah.
you're
What would
like,
you be
well, when
thinking?
I
Right.
have the perfect homeschool, I'll feel like this. That's just
Hmm.
very difficult to do.
We might as well use our natural tendency. Anyway, we're probably thinking those things. If we think we're having a hard time and struggling, and we know a family who doesn't look like they are, we're already thinking about what they're
True.
doing or
Right.
saying or thinking. It's just kind of maybe it's a little snippy,
Yeah.
but calm that down and just think, what are they thinking, maybe, or doing, or
That was a really good example that Rachel used to just think of it as, if you did this practice, think of it as just making up
hmm.
what you're thinking about somebody that you're kind of envious of, right? So it's not comparing. That's obviously not the point,
And we don't
like
want to
you
encourage
said.
envy. It's just that there
Right.
might be somebody that you could think they
But
really have it together.
there's probably
Yeah.
already
Oh, there's
somebody that
for
you're
sure
thinking of right
somebody.
Yeah.
now, right? And
Yeah.
maybe you're saying, "Oh, they're so happy in their homeschool. Their kids are so well behaved. They can make school interesting." And I think once you say those things, those are your thoughts. Those
Hmm.
are the new
Yeah.
thoughts that you need to have in order to feel whatever emotion you want to in your homeschool. If
Hmm.
you want to think your kids are well behaved, by all means. If you want to think,
Yeah.
that your kids are smart, these are all things
Of
that are
course,
going to
think
help
your
you
kids are
have
smart. That's what
more
we
peace,
seriously want you to do. Yeah.
right? More peace and more
Yeah.
happiness in your homeschool. So I think that what Rachel said is a really good way to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, I guess, is the three practices that we would use to apply the principle of choosing your thoughts. So we had the noticing what thoughts you're having about yourself, your kids, your homeschool, your teaching style, whatever it is,
Hmm.
and then not judging, which Sarah gave a great explanation for.
Hmm. Yeah.
and then reframing. You maybe using that person that you've been comparing yourself to, and instead thinking about what thoughts or feelings they might be having, and then that gives you kind of the ones that you're actually wanting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We will see you again when we talk about principle number 2 in the next podcast. What is principle number 2, Mom?
Number 2 is partnering. So
Partnering.
that is what the
That'll
next
be a
one
fun
is.
one.
Yeah,
Great.
it will be.
We'll see you there.
Thanks for listening.